Chipped ham and football. That's what Pittsburgh does. What's up, everybody? Brian Batko with you again from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Sorry I missed you last week on the show. Had a stomach bug, neurovirus, whatever it was. Knocked me down for the count for a couple days, and also why I missed my chat on Monday, Tuesday, whatever it was. But Steelers in the playoffs against the Ravens wild card round, 6 going to the 3 seed. To discuss it all, we're going to talk to former Ravens tight end Daniel Wilcox. He now talks about the Ravens on several different outlets, I believe. So it should be a good conversation with him to get some insight on Baltimore going into this matchup. As always, show brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. There's no better place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than Pella. They can help you save on your energy costs year-round. Schedule a free in-home consultation with your local Pella Windows and Doors. To find that right product for your home and your budget, give them a call at 866-593-1560. To discuss your project further, that's 866-593-1560 to get started planning your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. On the other side, Daniel Wilcox previewing Steelers, Ravens, maybe some NFL playoffs with me, Brian Batko. All right, there he is, Daniel Wilcox, former Ravens tight end for 04 to 08. Now he talks about the Ravens on the Believe in Ravens podcast from the Believe Network. What's going on, Daniel? How are you, man?
I'm great, Brian. Thanks for having me on the show, man. I'm excited, man. Let's get to it.
Absolutely. Round 3 coming up Saturday night in the playoffs. First Steelers-Ravens playoff game in a while. For starters, though, what's your favorite Steelers-Ravens memory, good or bad? I'm sure our audience would prefer bad, but I won't make you relive anything painful if you don't want to. Yeah. Or you can give me one of each if you feel like it.
I mean, I guess it's no really good memories when you play the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, it's one of those crash them up, bang, bang type games. You know, you come out of it abused, beaten, and battered and feeling like somebody took your candy. So Pittsburgh, my last experience with Pittsburgh was probably one of the toughest, I guess. It was a season just like this where, we won one, they won one, then we met them in the AFC Championship game. So it was the last game I ever played, actually. And they took my candy that game. It was that game when Troy Polamalu caught the interception and returned it back at the end of the game. It was a game that Willis McGahee got knocked unconscious by Ryan Clark. In the flats. Every time I played the Steelers, I feel like I always had a decent game. I scored a lot of touchdowns against the Steelers in my career. And it was just one of those games where I felt like I knew 3, 4, 5, 6 of the guys. I used to train with Jamal Lewis in the offseason, and then I think Ryan Clark and a couple of other guys used to come to Atlanta and train as well. I played for the Steelers because of Heyward. Hines Ward's from Atlanta, so I used to train with Hines. So I knew Hines from back at the UGA days. And I played with James Farrier in New York with the Jets my first 2 years in the league. Potsy, we call him Potsy. And he was a good friend of mine as well. So, and then me and James Harrison was actually on the same team in NFL Europe with the Ryan Fire in Dusseldorf, Germany. James got hurt. He was with the Ravens at the time, got hurt, got sent back to Baltimore. And then the Ravens ended up releasing him because he didn't finish the season over there that year. And they ended up releasing him, and then Pittsburgh picked him up. So I saw James for the next 5 years of my career after that. And I got a chance to practice against them every day in Germany, But that last game, I didn't know it was my last game, And I remember walking off that game kind of with my head half down, half up, like, bro, I even got a picture of me walking off the field at the end of that game. And I can't remember if I scored a touchdown that game or not. But I know I did score a touchdown that season in Pittsburgh against, I think Troy was on me one-on-one, and I kind of sold like I was going to block, and then I leaked out on him and caught a corner route in the back corner of the end zone against Troy. And the Pittsburgh rivalry was probably one of the best rivalries that I could remember playing in the NFL. And, it was a lot of people on that side of the ball, including Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin was on the Super Bowl team with me in Tampa. He was our linebackers coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we won the Super Bowl that year in 2002. And so when he came and got the head job in Pittsburgh, I was probably one of the people that was probably one of the most happiest people that he was awarded that opportunity because he was such a phenomenal guy. I was an offensive guy with a defensive mindset. So a lot of the people that kind of took to me was on the defensive side of the ball. Every team I played on, the defensive guys seemed to kind of take me underneath their wings before the offensive guys did, which is kind of weird. I don't really know why I was always like that, Brian, but it was. And, Mike Tomlin was one of those guys I remember having several conversations with when I was in Tampa, and I wasn't there for a very long time. I was there long enough to get a ring and come back and play like another 2 or 3 games that following season, but I wasn't there that long at all, so, but it was cool being in the atmosphere with those guys. And this Pittsburgh game is probably going to be one of the most exciting games that I think anybody's seen in a long time. They know us very well. We know them very well. Mike Tomlin knows exactly who John Harbaugh is. Harbaugh knows exactly who Mike Tomlin is. And it'll be interesting, man, to kind of see how these brains, kind of counteract one another and try to outplay one another, for this particular game, because this game has so much riding on it. Lamar has been one of the most phenomenal quarterbacks in the league for about 7 years now. And through his stint, Pittsburgh haven't had a solid quarterback, so you guys have been searching kind of like we were searching back when we used to play y'all. When I played, we had Kyle Bowler and Steve McNair and Joe Flacco and Troy Smith and Cordell Stewart, who was an old Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah.
And Anthony Wright. We had a bunch of guys that circulated through
Steeler.
Yeah. Who circulated through those 5 years when I was here playing. We never did have a really solid, solidified quarterback for all 5 seasons while I played here in Baltimore. So you guys are kind of rumbling through that same phase that we rumbled through.
Yeah, and even Lamar's era, it was like, it started with the tail end of Ben Roethlisberger's era. It's not like those two were dueling at the height of both of their powers.
They was not. Ben was a fraction of who he was his last year or so there, beat up, banged up, battered, and was still trying to, pull that truck, that meat wagon behind him, to get the ball and to get out of the pocket and stay viable to the receivers that were downfield. So Lamar didn't get a chance to get the real Ben Roethlisberger, the one that I got. But he was very dominant those years I played, man. Big Ben, he held you guys down. He really did, man. It was exciting to see. I think one of the funnest memories I remember is Bart Scott hitting Ben, during the game. I was like,
Haloti Ngata crushed him too. I think it was Haloti Ngata who broke his nose.
Yeah, Haloti was the one that broke his nose. Bart hit him so hard, he caught him right underneath his pads. And Bart kind of saved him a little bit, but he still dropped that shoulder like right into his chest when he hit him on the ground, when he slammed him to the ground. And to see a man that big get lifted off the ground by a guy smaller than him is crazy. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. But
the Steelers have kind of repaid that favor now. And, ever really since Lamar got started and became the Lamar that he is today, I mean, the Steelers have played him tough, played him physical, hit him even when the read option is out of his hands.
Yep.
Now he got, the last laugh in round 2 down there at M&T Bank. Does it feel like he's shaken that Steelers hex a little bit, Daniel? Or do you think maybe exercising those demons in this playoff game will kind of be that next step or that next level for him? Or do you get the sense of like, okay, if it's tighter than people think it's going to be in the third quarter, let alone the fourth quarter, will some of those old Lamar habits against the Steelers rear their ugly head?
I don't really think it's a hex on Lamar at all. Like when you go back and you watch the games that he actually played in, like a lot of those games he didn't even play in. Right. But it's at least 4 of them or 5 of them, I think, that he didn't even
play. Yeah, they kept missing them. They kept getting Huntley and even Robert Griffin III.
Yep. And then there was a couple of them that we just opted of him not playing because we was already clinched, right? And it didn't make sense to put him out there to risk him getting hurt against Pittsburgh when you already clinched the spot and you got a first round bye. And it was 2 of those. I think it was 2 of those situations, if I remember correctly. And then there was another 3 of them, I think, where Huntley played and then RG3 played and stuff. So the hex towards Lamar, I don't really get that whole thing. But how that happens, over the time. When you start winning games and your starting quarterback is Lamar Jackson, it doesn't matter if he played or not. You still got those L's, right, underneath your belt because you're the guy. So he took a couple of L's that don't have anything to do with him at all. And then the one game I remember, very, very clearly, which was last year because I was doing the Believe in the Ravens show last year too, was the game that we came to Pittsburgh and we had like 15 drops.
Yeah, they were dropping. Even Mark Andrews, who's short-handed as they come, was dropping balls that
everybody. It's like once he dropped one, everybody said, man, I got to get in on his action too. It was so many drops that, and then when you look at the drops that were made, it wasn't bad balls. It was perfect thrown passes that people was just dropping, hitting them right in the chest, right in the face, right in the hands. And they just dropped them, so that's not on Lamar. That's on his teammates. And the same thing happened the first game this year, right? We play y'all the first game, then we get all those turnovers. It's like, damn. And you got to take your hats off to Pittsburgh, because the way they played that game was they came in knowing exactly who we were, and we know exactly who Pittsburgh was. But for some reason, we act like we didn't know. So Pittsburgh
Peyton,
coming.
yeah, I mean, his one pick was he was targeting Justice Hill on the wheel route, and it was a good throw, but Peyton Wilson, the rookie linebacker, just ripped it away from him. So
yeah, and I count those plays, Brian, as plays that they just wanted more than us. You guys wanted the ball more than we did. Peyton wanted that ball just a little bit more than Justice Hill did. And even the script fumble early in the game, it was two of those, and you came in. I think Patrick Queen was the cause of one of those. You know, Patrick Queen was like, I got to play my ass off this game. He couldn't wait. And I've been there before. I left Tampa and had to go back to play against the Bucs when I was a Raven. And I couldn't wait to get my hands on those guys. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't wait to score a touchdown. Steve McNair was my quarterback that year. And I had a hell of a game that game. So I know how it feels to be Patrick Queen. You guys got a couple guys from the Ravens that's on your team. So that this rivalry is a phenomenal rivalry, man. It only gets better. And I love it. We tried to go get a Steeler, and it didn't work out for us. Dante Johnson, it did not work out at all. He was like, bro, I'm still a Steeler. I got to get the hell up out of here.
and now, I mean, hey, now we'll see what he does with the Texans this weekend, right before, they'll play the Chargers right before Steelers Ravens. He had 2 catches for 12 yards. I saw that in week 18, his debut with his fourth team in less than a year. So speaking of mercurial receivers, Daniel, you're down there in the Atlanta area. What do you make of George Pickens with the Steelers? He's coming off, I think, easily his worst game as a pro. I want to say I heard about something on social media. The Ravens already kind of trash talking him a little bit this week. Do you think they'll try to get in his head? Because he's also had some big moments in this rivalry against Baltimore. What do you make of George? And he's kind of the talk of the town up here right now in Pittsburgh, not necessarily for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think he's self-destructing a little bit right now. A lot of that comes with frustration of not getting the ball, and he's been kind of dealing with that for years now. Being in Pittsburgh on his 3rd season, and I think a lot of that is just old frustration coming up with new people, right? Russ has had a couple of bad weeks, and he hasn't been able to be as engaged as he wanted to be in the team. I think he had a couple of injuries he was dealing with as well.
Yeah, so he had a hamstring, missed 3 games.
Yeah, so now he get back out there. He want the ball every freaking play. Like, let me make up for these last 3 games. And then I think some of that old frustration is starting to kind of show up. And, he's treating Russ like, some of the other quarterbacks that he's had. And it ain't the same. It really ain't the same. Russ is going to find a way to get him involved, but he ain't going to deal with a bunch of the prima donna stuff. He's a veteran quarterback. And I hate the fact that Russ ain't playing as good as he, as you want him to, because especially right now, I want Russ to have his best game against us. I want people to see exactly how dope Lamar Jackson truly is. I've been begging and praying for it every single week. Give me your best shot. Give this guy your best shot, so he could go show you exactly what the most dynamic quarterback or the most player in college, most player in pro football is today. He's such a phenomenal quarterback, man. I wish I had that opportunity to play with a guy like him. But let me not jump ship. We was talking about Pickens, right?
Well, I was going to say, no, we can take it in that direction too, because, until that last meeting last month where, he balled out in Baltimore. And, but until that one, I mean, he was 1-4, I think, as a starter against the Steelers. And like you said, not always losses that were squarely on him. Sometimes it came down to one play in the end. I can remember the 2-point conversion to Mark Andrews that just didn't go the Ravens' way, or the Joey Porter Jr. interception last year. So like it is, I think, going to be interesting to see if Lamar can kind of, not only get over the Steelers hump for the 2nd time in this season, but I know get over that playoff hump too. This is the first step on what the Ravens hope is a road to that ring.
Yeah, well, I think he got over the playoff hump last year when he just lost in the AFC Championship game to Kansas City. But I mean, it's like a lot of this stuff, man, it's not only players too. We could harp on the players all day long, but sometimes this stuff is coaching related too as well. And you got to do your best as a coach to put your guys in the best situation possible. The good thing about our staff is I think we have the type of staff that'll take ownership of that, week in and week out. Like, if they don't coach well, like, bro, that's on me. I got to put you in a better situation. And a lot of times that's what it came down to this game. We got out coached. versus Mike Tomlin's staff versus our staff. And we have a very dynamic staff and a very great staff as well.
One of the biggest staffs in the NFL, right?
Yeah,
if I'm not
absolutely.
mistaken.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And a lot of times, more ain't better, right? Sometimes less is better, but Mike Tomlin is a sharp guy. He takes pride in being able to coach his guys up. And so does Harbaugh. We develop players about as good as any team in the world. And the Ravens has done a great job of kind of formatting their whole organization kind of after what Pittsburgh have done from the beginning of time. And that's why we kind of are two of the organizations that kind of consistently have long lineage with coaches, and we take care of the coaches that we have here, and we take care of the players. We hire within. We do a lot of things. A lot of the things the same way, man. I love
in
that.
both franchises, Daniel, when they let a guy walk in free agency or they trade a guy, it's not very common that player ends up going on to bigger and better things in the next destination.
100%. We've got the best out of them already. So when he gets there, they're on their way down. They're not on their way up.
Or the Steelers and Ravens are parting with those guys for a reason.
Absolutely.
And the evaluation is generally correct more often than not.
More often than not. Well said, Brian. Well said.
Yeah. As far as this game, do you want to dive into a prediction just yet, or do you need a little bit more time this week to kind of?
No, I mean, I already know the Ravens are going to win.
You think they'll win big? You think another close? Because I mean, most of these games are they're almost always close. I mean, the game last month was an anomaly when the Ravens, and that one was closer than probably the final score indicated. They pulled away behind King Henry and everything they were doing in the second half. But do you think this one will be another slugfest, or do you think they've got this one in the bag pretty handily?
I think the Ravens. I think the Ravens will control pretty much the majority of this game. I think there'll be a moment in the beginning of the game where it could go either way. I think the Ravens are going to have to withstand that burst that Pittsburgh is going to give them. If they could withstand that burst and come out of it in an even spot, then I think the second half the Ravens will definitely pull away. I could see us winning by 14 to 21 points in this game easily. Not an easy game by far, but I'm saying towards the end, I think we'll be up by 14 or 21. So if I had to say a score prediction, 28, maybe 28, maybe 30, 38, somewhere around there, 38, 40 points by Baltimore. Pittsburgh probably somewhere around the 14, 17 range. I don't think they'll score 21. It's one of those things for me, Brian, when I feel like the Ravens really, truly, honestly have something to prove. Pittsburgh are who they are. They've always been who they was going to be, and they've always been a great franchise. You can't take nothing from them. They always going to play you hard. They're going to play you tough, and they never going to quit. They're never going to give up. They're going to battle to the last moment, no matter what. It's just one of those things right now. I just think we got a better team this year, and I feel like we're not extremely healthy, but we're pretty healthy. We lost Zay a little bit last week, and that hurts. We still got Brent Urban and some other guys out, but I mean, that stuff of course hurts you. Pittsburgh has been a little beat up and banged up as well, but you guys are not just clicking right now on all four cylinders.
Yeah, 4 straight losses to end the regular season.
Yeah, mind you now, they're still the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
They can load up this week. They could figure out something this week in practice on what's really going on within the organization. They could figure this thing out, and then they could come in this thing and jump up on us by 14 points in the first half. Like, that's who Pittsburgh is, and you got to always respect that. The good thing about the Baltimore Ravens is you ain't going to be able to fake us out with anything. We pretty much know exactly who you are, what you're going to do. We're prepared for everything you're going to throw at us. We know we're going to have to withstand that storm in the beginning of this game, and we just got to come out and play Baltimore Raven physical ass football, and don't let Pittsburgh come out and play Pittsburgh physical ass football and out physical us in the game that we play the way we play it as well. We got to play our game. Don't let you guys make us play your game. And then, the whole George Pickens thing is like, if you could rattle him a little bit, if you can get him out of his game, is all you got to do is talk to him to get him out of his game. Hey, we're going to talk as much as anybody, So the good thing about it is Pickens played at UGA. He's a Georgia guy. He's a dog. He knows better. Whatever it is he's going to figure that out. And when he figured it out, we just hope it be after this game. Don't figure it out this game, Pickens. Just keep dealing with whatever you're dealing with this week. Next week, you can figure it out when you're on your way back today.
Because the Steelers do need playmaking, or they haven't scored more than 17 points in almost a month here, which makes your score prediction seem very logical. So, well, hey, before I let you go, Daniel, we mentioned it at the top. Any good Mike Tomlin stories from when you were with him in Tampa Bay? Did he talk a lot of trash to you? Because, I mean, the head coach that I observe now every day in practice, granted, year 18 on the job, he's always chirping his guys to try to get more out of them. Was he talking junk to you as a guy on the other side of the ball from where he was coaching?
No, he never really did. I mean, it was one of those things where I was brought in to be a special teams guy early in my career, being an undrafted free agent. And Rich Bisaccia was the head special teams coach at the time, and Rich loved me to death. Nate Webster was one of his guys, was one of Mike Tomlin's guys. He got hurt, so they brought me in to replace Nate on special teams. And they really didn't get a chance to see, Wilcox at his best. But what they did get a chance to see me was on the scout team going against the number one defense in the world at the time, with Warren Sapp and Simeon Rice and Brooks and all those guys, Shelton Quarles, all those guys down there, man. And I made sure I gave them a great look every single day. Like, I would not let up, not let off. And he appreciated me for that. That's why I had the conversation with him that I did have. He was like, "Boy, you pushing us." You know what I'm saying? Like, he told me straight up, like, "You pushing us." And he was like, "That's going to get us ready for whatever we see." And at the time, I think I was probably 225 pounds, running a 4.4 40, playing H-back, tight end, fullback, receiver, whatever they wanted me to play. And it was one of those things where I went hard every single day, and he appreciated my tempo and my temperament. And every time I see him, he'd shake my hand and, give me a big hug and always smile, man. He's a great guy. I really do like Mike. I think he's one of the guys that a player will run through a brick wall for. And you guys got a heck of a coach. I saw a video the other day on social media where he gave the whole team black Air Force Ones. And I don't know if you know anything about black Air Force Ones, Brian, but and from where I'm from in Atlanta, you give people black Air Force Ones, that means you want them to kind of have a little bit of to them,
Yeah,
like,
they got to bring that energy Saturday night to this game.
You got to bring black Air Force energy to this game. So when he gave his whole team black Air Force Ones, I thought that was one of the dopest things.
I want to say that was before week 1 against the Bengals 2 years ago, where the Bengals were, the top dog in the division at the time.
Yeah.
And that was the first game for the Steelers in the post-Ben era. And they did go out and win an insane game in overtime that day in Cincinnati. That black Air Force energy did not last throughout the 2022 season for the Steelers, needless to say. But that day it conjured up something.
That's what it's about, though. I mean, you got to do what you got to do in order to tap into the minds of these young athletes, right? To be able to have a head coach that understands that, do not sleep, fellas. That's why I say the Ravens can't sleep this week. We got to be able to withstand the storm. These guys are going to come prepared and ready to play. They got one of the best motivators there is in NFL right now, in Mike Tomlin, and he will be not a snap shy of perfection out of those guys this week, because he knows exactly what it's going to take to beat these guys. The Ravens are absolutely rolling right now. Their defense, I think, is the number one in the league right now for the last 4 or 5 weeks, or the last 5 or 6 weeks. They've been playing like the number one defense in the league statistically, and they're bringing that same energy right now. And you got to come into the bank to play these guys, so it's going to be a hell of a game, man. I'm looking forward to it, Brian. Are you coming to the game, Brian?
Yeah, I'll be there. Should be an awesome atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm thinking about making a trip up too to go see it, man. A couple of my teammates called me and asked me was I going to go, and I'm actually thinking about taking another trip up there to watch this game. I was at the last game in M&T Bank against the Steelers, so I'll be looking forward to maybe coming up to this one too as well.
Well, there you go. If you do, come say hello in the press box. It's supposed to be snowy, I think, for this one. It seems like it's always raining when we're in Baltimore. I've been on the beat since 2019, and I think that game last month that was dry was the first one that I've covered in Baltimore where we're not soaking wet all day.
Yeah, that's God. They ain't nothing but God. God trying to rain on your parade. That's God trying to rain on the Steelers parade every time they come to Baltimore.
I think he just wants to muck up Steelers Ravens and make it ugly, hard-nosed AFC North football.
It's always an ugly, hard-nosed AFC football game against these two, man. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Well, that was great going behind enemy lines there with former Ravens tight end Daniel Wilcox, now the Believe in Ravens podcast. Check him out if you enjoyed our conversation. Thanks so much for joining me. All right, Daniel, have a good one, man.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure, Brian. Thanks for having me, bro.
Yep, we'll see you. All right, and thanks to you all for checking out the show this week. As always, a quick message to end it from Goldberg, Persky, and White. If you were diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer, Call your local attorneys at Goldberg, Persky & White. For more than 40 years, their firm has represented thousands of lung cancer and mesothelioma victims. Call 1-800-COMPLEX or visit gpwlaw.com for a free consultation. Steelers, Ravens, Sunday night, 8 o'clock, M&T Bank Field or Stadium? I can never remember. I should, for as many times as I've been there. Regardless, the football stadium in Baltimore there by the Inner Harbor. Should be a lot of fun, and we will be cranking out plenty more content for you the rest of this playoff week on post-gazette.com and here on the YouTube channel. Make sure to check out more of our stuff. Me, Chris Carter, Ray Fittipaldo, Jerry Dulac, Jason Mackey, and the whole gang. Appreciate you following along all season if this is the last one, but we will be back next week with more regardless. Appreciate the time, and we will see you soon.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.